Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special episode of the Financial Insight Show, where I'm sitting down with the Chief Executive Officer from Stanbic Bank Zambia, Mr. Mwindwa Siyakalima. Mwindwa, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mola.
Mwindwa, it's always a pleasure. Mwindwa, we are at the Intercontinental Hotel where the banking community is hosting a very, very important annual event. The Banking and Finance Conference that's being held this year has brought about a lot of a lot of the stakeholders in the banking sector, and you being one of them, obviously is quite significant. Tell us a little bit about what this year's particular theme means to your bank.
Thank you very much, and we are very glad to have been part of it. I think it's all about driving growth for the country. We're looking at in terms of how we interpreted the theme is how do you as a financial institution be present in the future, and how do you leverage technology, and how does that then trickle down to how convenient the services that you're providing are to the client. So in terms of interpretation is how do we drive the growth of the economy, and in that how do we also ensure that there's the benefits that we as financial institutions are actually obtaining from this. How do we make sure that there's that leveraging point to make sure that they are passed on to the client? So convenience is one, but also just the coverage, the reach, meaning that with the power of technology, there's a big opportunity here, that we basically then have a much wider pool of customers that we can reach. And using technology, I think there's a lot of synergies that we can have as a financial institution, but together as an association, which is basically a collective of banks, non-banking financial institutions. How do we then help drive Zambia's growth? So I think a very good and apt theme that has actually been couched for this conference today.
Absolutely, and obviously this particular theme comes on the back of the country and even the world, dealing with issues of COVID subsiding for the most part. In this morning, you actually gave a presentation around how the bank positioned itself, how it's been able to deal, but then also the critical things that have come out. Are you able to tell us a little bit about the presentation that you gave this morning, and what were some of your key takeaways?
Yes, so the key takeaways are as follows. So definitely, I think pre-COVID, communication and how we then interacted as individuals, even with our customers, was a little bit different. So at this point in time, I can have members of staff sitting elsewhere, and we're able to communicate effectively, cost efficiently, in terms of whatever we would like to do as an organization. So there's productivity that has been brought about with the technology that we have. Definitely the most popular ones will be things like your Microsoft Teams, things that we never really used to the extent that we do now. And essentially that then allows for that productivity to happen even if somebody is traveling. So the good thing around that is there's a efficiency that comes out of the communication with our clients. Out of that, there's also efficiency that comes out when you are dealing with internal discussions that happen there. So in addition to that, there's also a trust level that has come out of that between and among teams, that if someone is not present in the room, they are indeed working. And that's a cultural thing, and we talk about it being presence versus productivity. So productivity is an important one. The other thing that has happened is that you've got your AI type discussion that has come about, big data, a lot of things that came out of that COVID period actually is, if you then trace back to say pre-2019, not a lot of companies or banks would talk about a digital loan. So as Stanbic, we actually have a digital loan that has actually been running for some time, where I can, in the comfort of my home, be able to draw down on a facility. It's pre-scored, but all that is basically done using technology. And technology is actually a big driver to a lot of things that we do. The other thing that we need to remember, obviously, is as a result of what's happening, in the world. There's a lot of when I say what's happening in the world, is things like cost escalations and things like that.
Absolutely. And, we've obviously, been big followers of the bank, and, your participation in this year's event is obviously very, very significant. So maybe just as a final thought, we had the minister obviously give some of his comments, and obviously some of them addressed about collaboration, which is something that you touch on regarding the MNOs as well as the banks. And then there was also a panel discussion around safety for women, in financial circles. What would your final thoughts be around those two important aspects that were covered this morning?
Indeed. I'll start off with the discussion around partnerships. So the partnerships one is a key one. And it's not just partnerships with MNOs, but it also includes the fintechs that are coming through. So there's a lot of synergies that we can derive from these relationships, and which currently are actually happening from a standpoint. And it's important to recognize the partners that we have in what we do. So fintechs and MNOs are not seen as competition. We actually collaborate to ensure that the end customer actually has the convenience and the benefit, and be able to access things 24/7 and is 24/7 and in a secure manner. The security around that is important. Coming to the women side of things, we have a product basically under the umbrella of our Anakazi banking, which then deals with women in banking and women who are our customers. So basically, I think around that is looking at things like financial literacy, making sure that we connect them, and in terms of partnering with other businesses, because that's important. I think that to be a business person or a woman, even men anyway, you definitely need people that you can learn from. So that's important in terms of financial education, but also linkages. Financing is also one of the things that we do under that umbrella. So very important that we that was spoken about, and I think focusing on women is really the right way to go as well, because then we know we basically are supporting a household. I think it's well told that when you support a woman, you're supporting a household.
Absolutely. Mwendwa, thank you so much for joining us on this special episode. And to our viewers, continue to follow all the content. This particular interview has been brought to you by BGS, who are our partners for Media Room at the Banking and Finance Conference 2023. Thank you very much, Mwendwa.
Thank you very much.
Right now, I am joined by Director General of ZICTA, Mr. Jolwe Nalwamba. Jolwe, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Glad to have you.
The pleasure is definitely mine.
So what do you think of the conference from your particular perspective as part of the regulators?
The session that I attended, where the minister gave a speech that laid the foundation, puts across the message that we should be able to adapt or die. Technology is moving forward. We as a country, including the financial services and every other sector, need to be able to adapt or else we'll die. That's the message. So I think the forum has put across a good foundation in order for us to be able to discuss pertinent issues related to us being able to adapt.
And also the theme of the conference is centered around finding new avenues of growth, and that's why in particular is technology the answer. From your particular vantage point as ZICTA, What do you say about the theme is going to fit into your mandate to assist the banking and financial services sector?
Well, being a regulator in the technology space, I'm obviously going to be a bit biased. And when you ask the question whether technology is the answer, obviously for me, I'll say yes. But from a practical and honest perspective, it's true. Technology is the answer in several areas. The only issue is that together with development and technology, the vices are also present. So you'll find that we are moving forward with technology, but there's also evil players that are also looking at ways to find creative and innovative ways of stealing our money. This conference is about money and how technology can help the ecosystem benefit. But we should also be aware that there are players out there who would like to see how they can find loopholes to get into the bandwagon and be able to get our finances.
You've mentioned a lot of technology and threats. So I take it your role here as well is to help the banking and financial services protect consumers, protect consumer data as well. So from your point as the regulator, as ZICTA, what are some of the ways you'd like to integrate and collaborate with the banking and financial services players to further provide more security?
As it stands, ZICTA has the mandate to spearhead the agenda of cybersecurity for government. And so we are here as a critical player in the ecosystem. Like we said, we're moving with technology, and it means that we should be able to provide services before and also after. So proactive and reactive services to the ecosystem. We work with the banks very well at the moment. So we do provide reactive and proactive services whenever they've got issues, including the MNOs. We provide cybersecurity services. We're talking about digital forensics and incident response. But we're increasingly realizing that we shouldn't leave the customers behind, because we are operating on the premise that 90% of cybersecurity solutions have to do with the person, whereas 10% are really technological systems. So we are also ramping up our awareness across the country in terms of getting users to be able to pick out threats, pick out issues, pick out scammers, just from the sort of transaction that is happening. Just today, one of my colleagues sent me a message saying, I sent back an email to you and it bounced, and he sent me a screenshot. And you'll be amused that they used my middle name and my surname, but the email address had nothing to do with me. It definitely wasn't me. So, and this is someone who is already operating in the ecosystem of cybersecurity, but they missed that. So now imagine the people who are in the rural area. 60% of Zambian population is in the rural areas, and we're trying to bring them onto the digital highway. We have a responsibility to be able to go and preach to them as well. From a technological point of view, in terms of systems, the banks and several other players are doing their part. But I think the weakness, as we have seen, and as I have said, is usually from the people side. So we've got a lot of work to do there.
All right, I see. Thank you so much, Ole, for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasures, man.
Right now, I'm joined by Mr. Martin Chitundu, who serves as Head of Commercial for BGS, and I would like to speak to him about the conferences. Mr. Martin, how are you doing?
I'm okay, thanks, and how are you?
I'm good. So you are a platinum sponsor of this conference, and what are some of the things that have stood out for you from this conference, and what has being a sponsor brought to you as BGS?
Yeah, basically, it's been an interesting conference, today being the first day. We've been able to see a lot of the banks, the big banks, that have been able to come through, and we've had a number of very exciting presentations that have been done this morning From this conference, we're able to see that technology is the next thing, even in banking. So we've been able to see banks come in and be able to discuss about the technology and the future that is there in technology with the banking sector. The keynote speech that came from the minister, Felix Mtati, and he spoke about digital banking and technology in banking. The world has revolved now. We are coming out of a world where everything was on paper, everything was basically moving with cash. We are going into a technology world now where everything is cashless. Everything has to be done from just the tip of your fingers on your phone, on your laptop. You don't even to walk through the bank and be able to do any of the transactions, which brings us to BGS itself as one of the technology partners that has partnered with Zambia Institute of Banking and Finance for this year. Even last year, we did actually partner with them as a platinum sponsor because we want to be part of the team that's going to drive the technology solutions for the banking sector into the Zambian economy and across the board.
It's actually very, very noble ambition, I would say. And how has BGS interpreted this theme, and what are some of the steps you've taken to integrate technology in what you're offering as well?
So basically our interpretation actually speaks into what we believe in and what we are trying to achieve as one of the companies that is there speaking into technology as one of the visions that we are trying to drive. We've developed a number of solutions which basically would work with what the banks are doing. We've got our own banking system, which is called Paybos, which is developed by us. As you may be aware, BGS, Bridging Gap Solution, is a fully Zambian-owned company. And even the systems that we've developed are developed in-house by Zambians, young men and women that are able to work around and be able to develop solutions designed and tell us to be able to fit banking needs and systems that may be able to help to make banking easier. So we've done quite a number of solutions that are able to help, and which speaks into what basically the theme is for this year for the banking and the finance, which is able to help us be able to do integration into the banking systems that can be able to help the banks be able to manage. You talk about the document management system, the risk management systems, the CRIM, which is a customer relations management system, which are solutions that we have developed as Bridging Gap solutions that make it effective for the banks to be able to operate. And this is what we bring on the table, even as we go into partnership with the Zambia Institute of Banking and Finance, together with all the banks in Zambia. And this is a Zambian product that we feel should be supported and should be able to work together with these banks.
That's amazing work that you're doing, actually. And what other services do you offer outside of these, and what has been the story of BGS in terms of innovation and growth?
It's a very interesting story of BGS. In existence since 2008, that's when BGS was formed and started. Started with the founder and CEO, Mr. Julius Ziambo, and then started as a financial consultancy company, which over the years has revolved and has grown, and has taken into other divisions which is other than consultancy. We also do the talent bureau, which helps with any of issues to do with the management of your businesses and your processes. We also have the construction and logistics division, which handles most of your construction and logistics. At the same time, we've got a security division. In our security, we're trying to bring a new technology in security, not just the human, but AI security. We know the future is AI. Then, which brings us to the ICT, which is our core business, where we have developed a number of solutions. Talking about the ones that I've mentioned before, which are actually good for banking systems to be able to work with. We've developed systems into HR. We've also developed systems that are able to work in terms of investment management system. We pride ourselves to mention that we've developed an ERP, which is not easy. Most of the ERP you have on the market are actually Sage, which are international. Now, a local Zambian company has for the first time developed an ERP. Local Zambian company has for the first time developed CRIM, okay, which is able to help your customer services to be able to improve. We understand the customer is king. And we thought as an organization, let's look at developing a system that should help us as BGS provide the best customer service. And at the same time, take it to the market, for the market to be able to use the system, to be able to ensure that they have got the best customer experience that the clients should be able to experience. So those are the solutions, and that's what BGS is. So you can see how we've grown from what we are. At the same time, we're providing call center service solutions. Okay, we've got 2 institutions. Right now, we are sitting at an employee base of over 210 because we've just running one of the biggest call center solutions, which very soon you'll probably be able to hear the launch of it. And that is also running with our own in-house CRM system, which is, I think, a pride that we carry along as BGS.
That's a very inspiring story, Mr. Chitundu. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Right now, I'm joined by Kampamba Mlenga from FNB. Kampamba, how are you doing?
Fine, thanks, Cedric. Thanks for having me here.
Glad to have you. So you were just speaking on the podium just not so long ago, and you're talking a lot more about digital innovations and technology. I'd like to know, from the theme of this conference, what is FNB doing to integrate more technology in offering their products and services?
Okay, no, thanks. So first of all, I think the theme has come at the right time. And if you see the way the topic's built up, all the way from the first keynote address by the Minister of Technology, it's a lot around how do we use technology to enable banking services. And, you know, it's actually apt that you've got the Minister of Technology as your keynote speaker, guest of honor at a banking and financial services conference, because really that's where the industry is going. What I've learned from today is that it's not only us as FNB thinking around that way, but it's right across the industry. And I think that collaboration between banks and fintechs is coming out very strongly. From FNB perspective, so we've been in Zambia since 2009. So this is our 14th year. And one of the things and the hallmarks about FNB Zambia was our ability to innovate. So one of our ethos is how can we be innovative in terms of that brand promise of how can we help you and reach our customers. So we've always embraced technology. And in the last 14 years, we've seen technology and the products that we offer back technology and increase from the time we did. We launched the first e-wallet in the country in terms of first electronic wallet, which will enable anyone with mobile money to receive funds from an FNB customer. That was first, and you know, we saw a lot of people follow that. But even from where we've been, from launching e-wallet, today I was talking around agency banking and our what we call our cash plus offering, which is our agency banking offering, to even newer products. For example, with all the point of sale machines we've rolled out, you're enabled now to get cash on that till, or to even pay e-wallet on that till. So we've seen the technology that we've sort of built up over the years continue to serve our customers, and it's served us well in terms of how the bank has grown over the last 14 years.
That's really, really quite the story. And by years, that means you're one of the youngest banks on the market currently.
Yes.
So with the theme of this year's conference, what do you take from it? What's the key thing that you have taken, and what would you like to see at the next conference from this one?
So what the theme has sort of meant to me is it's a time to reflect and think some of even the innovations that I talked about earlier that we did in the last 14 years may not be enough. It's all about serving that customer need. So to continuously have that attitude of innovation, and in the end, if we're going to be a relevant player in the market, in the sector, we need to have that innovation and think how not only banking will look like in tomorrow, but how FNB as a bank will look like tomorrow. So it's a time for introspection, but it's also exciting. We're not daunted or scared. I think it's exciting because it means there's a lot of technology that's coming out. How can we use it to serve our customers? So I think it's given a lot of thoughts, introspection, but a lot of excitement as well when you look at how the future will look like.
That's really, really interesting, and looking forward to seeing what will be the new innovations of the market in the next conference. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been Seru Chuma for Financial Insight Zambia here at the 2023 Banking and Financial Services Conference being held at the Intercontinental Hotel and sponsored by BGS, Bridging Gap Solutions. Right now, I am joined by Invest Trust Bank PLC Managing Director, Simangolo Ashakalima. Simangolo, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Glad to have you.
Sure, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about the conference. What are some of your expectations and how has been the year in general?
So I think this is a conference that has come at an appropriate time. I think if you look at the history of banking and financial services in this country, you can literally put it in buckets. I think there was the 2008 financial crisis bucket, where everything was just running almost on autopilot, with traditional banking means and practices. And then you had the 2008 crisis, which affected the entire globe. And in there, I think everybody had to adjust in terms of how we provide credit, how we provide banking. But the one we're experiencing now is completely different. And I think the Minister of Technology and Science put it aptly well, where he was talking about the paradigm shift that has happened. The current conversation we're having at this conference has to do with the future of banking vis-a-vis technology. And I think the compelling factor really is we are dealing with an age where customer preferences and practices have completely changed. And they've been driven by capabilities that are coming with technology. And I think the bottom line is, if we don't have this conversation now, then the future of banking and financial services is at risk. And therefore, these conversations are stretching from, what kind of environment are we operating in? How do we remain relevant to the customer of today, but more importantly, even to the customer of tomorrow? And with technological advancements that are happening, there's an opportunity for us as players who are offering financial intermediation to rethink how we deliver that. And ultimately, I think it's about relevance and being fit for purpose for the future. So really, I think I'm pretty excited by what is happening. I think the first few speakers, have already summarized, very well in terms of the current status of things and what we should be thinking about. So really, at the end of the 1.5 days, I'm hoping that, we'll listen to a few more voices coming from industry and from those that are supporting us, from regulators and to actual, investors in the technology space, in terms of how we can collaborate and partner to be able to make financial services relevant even going into the future. So it's a win-win for whoever is involved in these services. Ultimately, we've also connected to some of the government services so that, as people transact, some of it has been regulatory in nature. So for instance, you need to pay your NAPSA. Nowadays, you need to pay your NIMA and other services. All those have been integrated so that at least, the customers have got a choice to be able to perform those transactions.
Oh, that's really, really interesting to note. This has been Sedu Chuma for Financial Insight Zambia at the 2023 Banking and Financial Services Conference, sponsored by Bridging Gap Solutions. Thank you for watching and get to know.